Part 1. The Purchase. Mark had never been the kind of guy to splurge on new gadgets. His wife, Leah, used to tease him about still carrying the same cracked-screen phone he'd bought 4 years ago, and the fact that their television didn't even have Wi-Fi built in. Mark was practical. He worked a steady job at an insurance office, paid bills on time, never gambled, never went out drinking. He'd call himself boring if he were honest, though Leah always said, stable is better than exciting. But sometimes, when the house was quiet and Leah had already gone to bed, he'd scroll through ads on his phone. Shiny watches, sleek headphones, mini drones with cameras. It scratched an itch he couldn't name. That was when he saw the glasses. Immersive AR video recording glasses. The ad was flashy. Hands-free recording, night vision lens, real-time streaming to your phone. Record your life exactly as you see it. The video showed a man biking through a forest, his perspective crisp and smooth. Then a woman cooking, hands busy while the glasses recorded her chopping onions. Mark lingered on the ad longer than he should have. He didn't need them. But there was something about the pitch, the way the ad promised to capture your world exactly as it is. He imagined himself using them at work presentations, filming himself fixing the leaky sink, even just walking the dog at night. He clicked "Buy now" before he could talk himself out of it. When the box arrived 3 days later, Leah shook her head as he tore it open. "You and your toys," she said, though her voice carried more amusement than annoyance. "They're not toys," Mark said, slipping them on. They felt lighter than sunglasses, with a subtle hum when they powered on. The app synced instantly with his phone, showing him a fisheye preview of exactly what he was looking at. "You look like you're in the Matrix," Leah said, brushing past him on her way to the kitchen. Mark grinned, but he couldn't shake the strange thrill as he looked around the room. He raised his phone to check the feed. Sure enough, everything he saw through the glasses streamed live to the screen. A little red dot blinked in the corner. "Recording." "Cool, right?" he said. "Uh-huh." Leah's tone suggested otherwise, but she smiled anyway. That night, Mark set the glasses down on the nightstand, lenses angled at the wall. They powered down with a soft click. Or so he thought. Part 2. The First Night. At 3:17 a.m., Mark's phone buzzed. He stirred, rubbing his eyes. Leah mumbled something in her sleep and rolled over. He picked up the phone, squinting at the notification. New video available from AR glasses. Frowning, he tapped it open. The video was grainy, green-tinted from night vision. The perspective was wrong, aimed directly at the bed. Leah was there, curled on her side, lips slightly parted in sleep. And there he was too, his chest rising and falling. Mark's stomach tightened. He hadn't turned them on. Then movement. From the corner of the frame, a figure leaned in. Just enough to reveal a shoulder, the pale crescent of a cheekbone, and eyes reflecting faint light. The person stood almost over him, unmoving, watching. Mark froze, unable to breathe. He scrubbed the video back, replayed it, praying he'd imagined it. But no, the shadow was there, silent and patient. Heart racing, Mark snapped his head toward the nightstand. The glasses sat there, lenses dark, pointed harmlessly at the wall. "Leah," he whispered, shaking her shoulder. She stirred. "What?" Someone was in the room. Someone. He broke off, already on his feet, snatching the baseball bat from the closet. He checked every room of the house, opening doors slowly, flinching at every creak. The living room, empty. Kitchen, empty. Garage locked. Back door locked. Windows sealed. Still, his skin prickled. The certainty that someone had been standing over them was carved into him like a brand. He called 911. The police arrived 20 minutes later. 2 uniformed officers. They were polite, professional, but their eyes carried the look of men humoring a crank. "Tell us exactly what happened," one said, notebook in hand. Mark explained everything. The glasses, the video, the figure. His words tumbled out too fast. "All right, sir. Can we see this video?" "Yes, it's right here." He opened the app. His stomach dropped. Empty. No videos listed, no notifications, no history. "I swear, it was here." He scrolled furiously. "I saw it with my own eyes." The officers exchanged a glance. "Sir," the older one said gently, "sometimes, when we wake from a dream, things can feel very real. Combine that with new technology and—" "It wasn't a dream," Mark snapped. The officer closed his notebook. "We'll file a report, but for now, just lock your doors, okay?" They left him standing in his own living room, clutching the useless phone, feeling like a fool. Part 3. The second night. Mark hardly slept the following night. He checked the locks 5 times, paced the hallway with the bat. Leah tried to soothe him, but her patience frayed. "You're scaring me, Mark. Maybe you should see someone. A doctor." "I'm not crazy," he muttered. At 3:21 a.m., the phone buzzed. Dread coiled in his gut. He opened the notification. The perspective had changed. The glasses were moving, carried by someone. They crept down the hallway, through the front door without resistance, across the quiet street, into his neighbor, Patterson's house. Mark whispered, "No, no, no," under his breath as the view entered Patterson's bedroom. The old man snored softly. The figure raised a knife. The first thrust was savage. A burst of blood sprayed the sheets. Patterson jerked awake, eyes wide in terror, but another blow silenced him. The camera captured every detail. The blade plunging into flesh, the choked gurgles, the wet tearing sound. Blood pooled fast, soaking the mattress. Mark gagged, bile rising. His shaking hands dialed 911. When the officers arrived, he shoved the phone at them. "Watch it! Watch what I just saw!" But again, the video was gone. They checked on Patterson. Minutes later, the officers returned, stone-faced. "Your neighbor is alive and well, sir. He's angry we woke him up. That's impossible. I saw him die." "Sir," the senior officer's tone sharpened, "this is the second false emergency call in 2 nights. You understand the seriousness of that?" Mark's voice cracked. "I'm telling you the truth. Please." "Next time," the officer interrupted, "you could be facing charges. Do you understand me?" Mark nodded numbly. Leah stood in the doorway, arms crossed, her eyes wet and afraid. Part 4. The third night, Mark was unraveling. His hands shook when he poured coffee. His eyes were bloodshot and raw from nights of little sleep. Leah had started keeping distance, speaking to him in cautious tones, like one would to a sick man. At 3:19 a.m., the phone buzzed. His breath rattled. He didn't want to look. He knew what he'd see. But some grim compulsion forced him to open the notification. The glasses perspective flickered to life. The Thompsons' house. The figure stood in their bedroom, a knife raised high. The killing was savage. The blade hacked downward, tearing into the husband's chest. Blood sprayed across the white comforter in violent bursts. The wife woke screaming, but her cry was cut short by a quick, brutal slash across her throat. Mark's stomach heaved. He dropped the phone, hands over his ears, but he couldn't block out the sound. Choking gurgles, sheets ripping, the wet tearing of flesh. He stumbled to his feet, panting, whispering to himself, "It's not real. It's not real. It can't be real. But then he heard it. A muffled scream, carried faintly through the night air. Not from his phone, from outside. His heart froze. "No," he whispered. Before he could stop himself, he ran barefoot out of the house, across the street, straight to the Thompsons' front door. It was unlocked. He pushed it open. The smell hit first, coppery, thick, unmistakable. Then the sight. The bedroom looked like a slaughterhouse. Blood slicked the floor, dripping from the mattress in fat, sticky drops. The husband's chest was a ruined cavity, ribs cracked open, lungs and tissue glistening in the glow of the bedside lamp. The wife lay on her side, her throat a gaping red smile, eyes glassy and fixed on nothing. Mark staggered, one hand to his mouth. He gagged, bile burning his throat. He wanted to run, but something pulled him deeper into the room. Some terrible fascination with the carnage. That was when he saw it. The knife. It lay on the floor, handle slick with blood, blade glinting dully in the low light. Without thinking, Mark bent down and picked it up. The weight was heavier than he expected. Warm. Sticky. He turned it over in his hands, staring at it like it might explain what had happened here, how this could be real. Jesus Christ! The voice snapped him out of his trance. He spun, knife still in hand. Two officers stood in the doorway, guns raised, flashlights blinding. Their faces were masks of horror and fury as they took in the scene, and him holding the weapon. "Drop the knife! Drop it now!" Mark's mouth opened, but no words came. He looked at the blade, at his own bloody fingerprints smeared across it. "No, no, I didn't. On the ground, now!" He dropped the knife, stumbling backward, but it was too late. They surged forward, slamming him against the wall, pinning his arms. His face mashed into the blood-soaked sheets as cuffs bit into his wrists. Leah's scream carried from outside as the officers dragged him away. And just before they hauled him out the door, Mark's eyes caught the glasses. They were lying on the dresser, lenses aimed squarely at him, recording. In the black reflection, a pale face grinned back. Part 5. The ending. The hours after his arrest bled together. Cold coffee in paper cups, the metallic taste of handcuffs, detectives' voices like static, repeating the same accusations. You were in the house. You had the weapon. The neighbors saw you. Mark said little now. Every time he tried to explain, it sounded more insane. The glasses, the videos, the pale reflection. He could barely believe it himself anymore. But then, everything shifted. Late in the afternoon, the cell door opened. A young officer stepped in, his face unreadable. "Come on, you're being released." Mark blinked, confused. "What?" "Turns out you didn't kill anyone," the officer said dryly. "Lucky you." In the briefing room, the detectives were less hostile now, though not much warmer. One leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "Your neighbor's doorbell camera caught it," he said. "Whole damn thing. Guy's a transient, squatter who'd been living in that abandoned rental down the block. We've picked him up before for trespassing, loitering. Guess this time he escalated." Mark sat frozen, struggling to absorb it. "It wasn't me," he said softly. "No, it wasn't you," the detective admitted. Then his eyes narrowed. "But we still don't buy your story about magic glasses sending you murder videos. If you want my advice, stay off the late-night gadgets. You're lucky the footage turned up." They pushed his personal belongings back across the table. Wallet, phone, keys. The glasses weren't there. At home, Leah barely spoke to him. Relief softened her anger, but a distance remained. She wanted answers he couldn't give. The glasses sat on the nightstand where this all began. They looked harmless now. Plastic frames, dark lenses, nothing more. Mark stared at them for a long time. Then, without a word, he carried them outside. He dropped them into the metal trash bin by the curb and buried them under bags of kitchen waste. The lid clanged shut. That night, he slept for the first time in days. No buzzing notifications, no flickering videos, just silence. Weeks passed. The squatter was arraigned, then convicted. The neighborhood tried to settle back into normal, though blood still stained the memory of every streetlight, every shuttered window. Mark avoided talking about what had happened. Even Leah stopped asking. But sometimes, late at night, when the house was quiet, Mark would catch himself staring at the empty nightstand, waiting. Nothing ever came again, and that was the worst part, because he couldn't decide which was more terrifying, that the glasses had truly been cursed, or that everything, every horrific vision, every scream, had just been coincidence. The mystery never left him, and it never would.